Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 13 based on novel. So let's start. The place where we will be going is called the Blood Rock Grounds. It is going to be approximately a 5 days trip from Dao Sect. Since that area is located at the intersection between the borders of a few super sects, it has turned into a fairly chaotic region. Even some of the most fearsome wanted individuals frequent that place. The green condor flew across the azure blue sky. Ying Huan Huan, who was on it, was currently briefing Lin Dong and the rest about the mission. The sect's wanted list? Lin Dong was slightly startled. He had also gained some knowledge about the Eastern Xian region during this period of time in Desolate Hall. The sect's wanted list was issued together by some super sects. Those who appeared on this list were all powerful experts with shocking abilities. Back then, Senior Ju Tong was also on this list. Moreover, he was placed at the top of the list. Of course, this was issued by the Yuan Gate and it was eventually removed due to objection from our Dao sect. Lin Dong was stunned. Promptly, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Senior Ju Tong really caused trouble wherever he went. After arriving at Dao sect, many of the things that Lin Dong heard about this person were related to his numerous great achievements. However, from this, Lin Dong was able to deduce the quality of this so-called sect's wanted list. If one was not truly skilled, it would be really difficult to end up alive after offending some super sects. Therefore, it is best to avoid causing any problems when we reach the Blood Rock Grounds. Although we are disciples of Dao sect, the prestige of a super sect is diminished in a chaotic place like the Blood Rock Grounds. Ying Huan Huan looked at Lin Dong with her large eyes and warned. Lin Dong curled his lips helplessly. Being lectured by this girl, who was around the same age as him, really felt a little strange. Our Dao sect has a Nirvana crystal mine there. This time around, there are some disturbances there that have interfered with the mining process. Our mission is to observe the area. It is likely some demonic beasts causing the problem. This mission is not difficult and if things go smoothly, we will be able to return in half a month's time. Ying Huan Huan said. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He knew a little about Nirvana crystal mines and they were similar to Nirvana pills. Within those crystals were pure natural Yuan power mixed with Nirvana chi. Furthermore, these crystal mines were an extremely important resource to the various super sects. That was because the pill rivers within the sect would have to be replenished with a large amount of Nirvana crystals every year. Otherwise, the pill river would wound up being gradually exhausted. With Senior Sister Huan Huan in charge, it is likely that there will not be much problems during this mission. We'll just treat it as coming out to take a tour. Although the Blood Rock Grounds is chaotic, the auction house there is quite developed and we can see various interesting items. At that time, we might even be able to go and take a look. The white-clothed man beside Ying Huan Huan also opened his mouth and laughed. After chatting along the way, Lin Dong also gained some understanding of the two other men. The white-clothed man was called Jian Kun. He was a senior direct disciple in Earth Hall and he was also at 7 Yuan Nirvana stage. The black-clothed man was called Yuan Ling and he was also a senior direct disciple of the Flood Hall and was as powerful as Jian Kun. Judging from the surface alone, amongst the four of them, the strongest one should be Ying Huan Huan. The Yuan power fluctuation around her body was stronger than the Jian Kun duo. It was likely that she had reached the peak of 7 Yuan Nirvana stage. Moreover, for some unknown reason, Lin Dong was unable to sense any extraordinary fluctuation around her. One could tell that the young lady in front of him was definitely not as simple as she appeared on the surface. Lin Dong smiled and his heart also relaxed a little. In any case, he had yet to come out after having reached the Eastern Xian region. This time around, he could take it as a chance to explore the outside world. The Blood Rock Grounds was quite a great distance from the Dao sect. Even though the green condor flew at a rapid rate, the journey still took around 5 days. Lin Dong, who was seated on the green condor, suddenly sensed something when the morning of the 6th day arrived. He raised his head and looked into the distance. He could see that the originally lush green forest a great distance in front had suddenly come to a halt. A somewhat bright red color spread apart from the area that he could see. That color was just like the earth was being invaded by fresh blood. A faint yet fearsome evil scent arose from the land. When approaching this region, Lin Dong could sense that the aura around the place had become much messier. These auras mostly contained a degree of ferocity. Some were hidden in the darkness, while others were ferociously sweeping their dark and cold eyes over the green condor that was flying across the sky. This is an unfriendly place. Lin Dong knitted his brow slightly when this thought appeared within his heart. It seemed like it was just as Ying Huan Huan had said, this was quite a chaotic area. We have arrived at the Blood Rock grounds. At the head of the condor, Ying Huan Huan stretched her lazy waist. She immediately spoke with a smile, let's head to the mine first. There are disciples of our Dao sect situated there. The Jian Kuan duo would naturally not oppose her instructions. Moreover, Lin Dong was unfamiliar with the area since it was his first time here. Therefore, most of the decisions were made by Ying Huan Huan. Seated on the green condor, Ying Huan Huan waved her hand gently before the green condor immediately flapped its large wings, changed its direction and upped its speed. This leg of the trip merely lasted for half an hour. After which, Lin Dong saw a bright red mountain appearing in his sight. In fact, it was even possible to see some buildings and well-spaced human figures within that mountain range. Ying Huan Huan appeared to be quite familiar with this place. Her eyes merely drifted downwards before she directed the green condor to reduce its speed and finally encircled above a mountaintop before slowly descending. Their landing spot was coincidentally a stone square. Soon after the green condor landed, some rushing wind sound were emitted from a short distance away. After which, over a dozen figures rushed over. From the badge in front of their chest, they were all clearly disciples of the Dao sect. The originally cautious expression on their faces quickly disappeared upon seeing Ying Huan Huan. Taking its place was a respectful expression instead. Huan Huan. In front of them was a lady, who had a somewhat small and delicate figure. Although she was not as beautiful as Ying Huan Huan, she possessed a gentle demeanor. Her face contained some joy when she saw Ying Huan Huan. Her mannerism clearly indicated that she was somewhat familiar with the latter. He, elder sister Fang. Ying Huan Huan also grinned and stepped forward when she saw that lady. Elder sister Fang, with regards to the disciples who are following me for this mission, all of you should be familiar with Jian Kuan and Yuan Ling. The last guy is a new disciple from Desolate Hall, Lin Dong. Ying Huan Huan chatted a little with the one called elder sister Fang, before pointing her delicate finger towards Lin Dong. A new disciple from Desolate Hall? That elder sister Fang was clearly startled upon hearing this. Her eyes looked over Lin Dong and spoke uncertainly, 5 Yuan Nirvana stage. The Blood Rock grounds is quite a chaotic place. As such, the Dao sect would typically dispatch powerful disciples to this area, and it was very rare to see someone like Lin Dong. Of course, she was not the only one who felt this way. Even the other Dao sect's disciples following her were staring at Lin Dong with surprise in their eyes. Clearly, they did not understand why such a weak new disciple would be dispatched here this time around. You should not underestimate this fellow. He has only joined the Desolate Hall for less than a month, but he has already become a senior direct disciple of Desolate Hall. Even Jian Hao is unable to do anything to him. Ying Huan Huan was also clearly aware of the thoughts in the hearts of elder sister Fang. She immediately spoke softly behind the latter's ear. Oh. The expression of this lady changed a little. Being promoted to senior direct disciple within less than a month. This speed was truly a little frightening. It seems like Lin Dong should be quite capable. This is Senior Yuan Fang and she is also a senior direct disciple of Sky Hall. These mines are all managed by her. Ying Huan Huan smiled at Lin Dong and introduced. Greetings to Senior Yuan Fang. Lin Dong cupped his hands together towards that lady. Although he did not need to address her as a senior given his status as a senior direct disciple of the Desolate Hall, Lin Dong clearly did not feel that this would cause him to lose face. Junior brother Lin Dong is too courteous. Lin Dong's manner of address also caused that lady's expression to soften. Clearly, Lin Dong's respectful greeting caused her to experience some favorable feelings towards him. Elder Sister Fang, bring us to take a look at the problem that has appeared this time around. If it is those irritating demonic beasts again, don't blame this little grandaunt for being ruthless. Ying Huan Huan grabbed violently with her hand. Her action, along with her lovely appearance, caused everyone to laugh involuntarily. Yuan Fang also laughed. She dotingly patted Ying Huan Huan's little head. Immediately, her eyes became a little grave as she said, "The problem this time around is a little strange. I shall bring all of you to go and take a look first." Yuan Fang directly turned around and rushed out as she spoke. Ying Huan Huan, Lin Dong, and the rest also followed her immediately. After Lin Dong's group disappeared, a pair of eyes containing a dark chilling glint gradually disappeared within the darkness at the top of a distant mountain. Our mineral vein is the largest one within the Blood Rock grounds, and there are about 100 disciples stationed here. Of course, such a number isn't large for a place like the Blood Rock grounds. Fortunately, given our Dao sect's reputation, there are seldom any individuals or factions that would dare to target us. Over a dozen figures flew over the bright red mineral veins. At their front, Yuan Fang introduced these mines, which were owned by their Dao sect, to Lin Dong's group along the way. Lin Dong's eyes continuously scanned his surroundings while he was in the air. The security of this place could be considered quite tight. Occasionally, individuals would flash past in the air as they vigilantly surveyed the activity around the veins. The size of this Nirvana crystal mine far exceeded Lin Dong's expectations. Back then, he had once discovered a Yang Yuan stone mine at Qingyang town. However, that place could hardly hold a candle when compared with this place. Under Yuan Fang's lead, the entire group gradually entered the deeper parts of the mine. Compared to the outside, the color here was growing increasingly crimson red. The entire land appeared to be about to ignite, giving it an extremely mysterious appearance. Yuan Fang's body rushed out before suddenly landing on a protruding rock peak. She looked towards the front, while Ying Huan Huan, Lin Dong, and the rest also swiftly descended and gazed into the distance. In front of the stone peak was a bright red forest. Large trees towered within the forest, and as wind blew on the fiery red leaves, they immediately rustled and danced, appearing just like a sea of fire. Lin Dong's eyes swept over that bright red forest, and his eyes quickly focused slightly. With his mental energy, he could sense dozens of auras within the forest. These auras were filled with violence and ferociousness. Moreover, all of them were extremely powerful. It was likely that they would not lose to a 5-yuan Nirvana stage expert. Demonic beasts. Lin Dong glanced at Fang Yuan and asked. Fire crystal demon ape, a demonic beast found in the Blood Rock grounds. They are extremely troublesome to deal with and always appear in groups. Moreover, each and every one of them is extremely powerful. There are at least 40 of them inside. If we engaged them in battle, even if we manage to chase them away in the end, it is likely that the disciples here will suffer serious injuries and even die. Yuan Fang spoke in a solemn voice. So many fire crystal demon apes. Beside her, Jiang Kuan and Yuan Ling were startled. Although they were experts who had advanced to the 7-yuan Nirvana stage, such a number would be rather troublesome to deal with. Elder Sister Fang, no fire crystal demon apes have appeared around this place in the past, no? Why have so many of them suddenly appeared now? Ying Huan Huan frowned slightly and asked. I am too sure either. Moreover, these fire crystal demon apes will occasionally appear and disturb our mining operations. This has left us with no choice but to relay this information back to the main sect. Yuan Fang shook her head and said. There should be something that they are interested in within this forest. Lin Dong suddenly spoke. He watched as eyes turned towards him as he continued, demonic beasts are extremely sensitive towards natural energy, hence, they usually do not gather without reason. They definitely have some motive for gathering together. We have explored this forest in the past, but we did not discover any natural treasures. Yuan Fang knitted her brows and said. Just because it was not there before does not mean that it doesn't exist now. Lin Dong spread out his hands and said, we will probably have to enter the forest in order to find out why they have gathered. Lin Dong's eyes overlooked the fiery red forest as he spoke. For some unknown reason, he could sense that the natural energy at that place appeared to possess an extremely faint yet chaotic aura. Enter? Those fire crystal demon apes are not easy to deal with, Yuan Fang said. Jiang Kuan and the rest also nodded. It would not be easy to charge past such a large number of fire crystal demon apes. Moreover, no one knew exactly what was inside the forest. Lin Dong frowned a little. It was possible to forcefully charge in. However, it was likely that only the 4 of them possessed the qualifications to do so amongst this group. Leave it to me. Why should we clash head-on with those foolish fellows? Ying Huan Huan gently moved her feet and laughed softly while Lin Dong was in deep thought. Lin Dong was slightly startled as he stared at her large black eyes. However, he did not say anything else. He would not underestimate her because of her age. Since she was able to become a senior direct disciple of the Sky Hall, it was likely that not even a fool would be convinced if one said that Ying Huan Huan did not possess some ability. Ying Huan Huan's graceful body gently flew forward. She appeared in the sky above the forest and waved her hand as a Yuan power pillar directly shot into the forest. Roar! Yuan power exploded within the forest. Immediately numerous furious roars violently rang out. Rushing wind sounds were heard as dozens of giant fiery red apes appeared on the large trees. Fearsome auras emerged from their bodies as their bright red eyes ferociously stared at Ying Huan Huan. Lin Dong was now able to clearly see what these fire crystal demon apes looked like. They were around a couple of dozen feet in size, and their fiery red bodies looked as if they were covered by a layer of crystal. Wild and violent energies continuously spread from within their bodies. Ying Huan Huan's body hovered in the air. She looked down at the fire crystal demon apes, only to release a lovely laughter. She extended her long hands and gently drew it across the empty space in front of her. Faint green energy gathered after her hand drew past in the air. At a glance, it looked like a couple of green strings. Dong! Ying Huan Huan's hand gently teased the zither on her hand. Immediately, a melodious zither music began to spread under her fingers. Lin Dong's eyes focused on the zither sound that was being transmitted from Ying Huan Huan's fingers. When the zither sound entered his ears, his mind became a little blurry and his heart immediately tensed up. Promptly, he activated his Yuan power and covered both his ears, blocking off the zither sound. Sound wave attack. A surprised expression flashed across Lin Dong's eyes. He had clearly not expected that Ying Huan Huan would actually be able to use the zither sound as an offensive weapon. This sound wave attack would truly catch some individuals off guard. Bang bang. While Lin Dong was in awe, the fire crystal demon apes above the forest actually shut their ferocious eyes at this moment. After which, all of them fell down one after another, smashing into the ground and making it shake. From the looks of it, all of them had been put to sleep by Ying Huan Huan. Done, it's over. Ying Huan Huan curled her lips slightly when she saw this. Only then did she dismiss the zither strings in front of her. She turned around and looked a stunned Lin Dong as pride immediately swelled in her heart. This is nothing, it's your fault for always acting so unfazed in front of me. Powerful. Lin Dong could not help but nod as he secretly upped his assessment of Ying Huan Huan. This was the first time he had seen someone able to combine Yuan power and zither sound. It was likely that even he would find Ying Huan Huan's attack extremely troublesome to deal with. Let's go, we'll enter the forest to take a look and see what has attracted those fellows. Ying Huan Huan waved her hand in a big sister-like style. After which, she took the lead and directly rushed into the fiery red forest, while Lin Dong's group quickly followed. The entire group directly charged into the forest. Due to the absence of the fire crystal demon apes, they were able to smoothly enter the forest region. Clatter. Lin Dong's figure landed on a tree branch as he frowned once again. Ever since he entered this forest, he had begun to feel disorder in the natural Yuan power. The source of the chaos appeared to be somewhere to their front. Lin Dong raised his head as he heard Ying Huan Huan exclaim in shock. His heart immediately leaped and his body rushed forward. Within a couple of flashes, he appeared beside her. At this moment, Ying Huan Huan's eyes were wide, her pretty face covered with a rich shock as she looked forward. The area before them was a bright red land. However, the land had already been torn apart. A black tree broke through the ground. Branches covered the black tree as it flickered and emitted an icy cold steel-like luster. It was possible to spot some seemingly naturally formed ancient symbols on that tree, while an extraordinary ripple was being quietly scattered. Moreover, the thing that truly drew one's attention were the 5 bright red burning flame-like fruits hanging on the tree. These fruits were shaky, appearing as though they were about to fall. This is... Lin Dong's pupils shrunk a little. Although he did not recognize it, he could tell that it must be an extraordinary object based on the aura it gave off. Immortan Yuan ancient tree. Ying Huan Huan gently covered her mouth with her hand. Rich shock filled her face. This thing, why would it appear here? The Jian Kuan duo were also flabbergasted as they muttered. The forest was completely silent. Everyone was drawn in by the black tree that seemed to have broken out from the ground. Ying Huan Huan stared at the black tree with incomparable joy. Soon after, she could not resist and tried to head over. However, just as she had taken a step forward, the expression on Lin Dong's face suddenly changed drastically. He grabbed her smooth wrist and pulled her back. Bang! The land where Lin Dong and Ying Huan Huan stood suddenly blasted apart just as the former grabbed the latter and pulled her back. A large fiery red hand had burst out from the ground. After which, a titanic fiery red figure rushed out from the ground and landed beside the black tree. Lin Dong brought Ying Huan Huan as they landed on a large tree. His eyes looked towards flying dirt where a titanic dark red ape stood in a fearsome manner. A monstrous and fearsome evil aura swept forth like a storm. Fire Crystal Ape King? Ying Huan Huan's expression changed slightly when she saw this huge fellow, whose color and luster was completely different from those from before. A dust storm spread within the forest. At this moment, the gazes of Lin Dong's group penetrated through the dust and focused on the enormous being a short distance in front. The enormous figure looked similar to the previous fire crystal demon apes. However, it was even larger and the color of its body was also deeper. Looking from a distance away, the figure appeared to be wearing a thick fiery red crystal armor. Moreover, its savage red eyes actually had a human-like cunningness and ferocity surging within it. At a glance, one could tell that it was quite intelligent. A fire crystal ape king her. Lin Dong's eyes also hardened because of Ying Huan Huan's soft exclamation. He could sense an extremely wild and violent energy fluctuation from its body. It was likely that its strength far exceeded those ordinary fire crystal demon apes. It is unexpected that even a fire crystal ape king has appeared. This fellow is fairly famous around the Blood Rock grounds. However, it usually trains deep within the mountains. Unexpectedly, it has actually barged into our place this time around. Yuan Fang's eyes were slightly cold as she looked at the enormous being with a stern aura and coldly said, "Huan Huan, you all right?" At this moment, Jian Kuan and Mo Ling rushed over to Lin Dong's side. After which, they looked at Ying Huan Huan and asked, "I'm fine." Ying Huan Huan glanced at Lin Dong. She hesitated a little and was just about to thank the latter for his help when she saw that Lin Dong was already waving his hand. After which, the latter stared at the fire crystal ape king a short distance away in an unblinking manner. His attitude caused Ying Huan Huan to involuntarily grit her teeth. "All of you get lost now. I am the one who first discovered it." That fire crystal ape king in the forest was fanning his large hand in front of him in a violent manner. Wild wind scattered the dust. Its scarlet eyes stared at Lin Dong's group as it cried out explosively with a mouth filled with an evil aura. After training till this stage, the fire crystal ape king clearly possessed an intellect that was not inferior to a human. If it was not because of its impure bloodline, it would have likely taken on a human form already. What a joke. This mineral vein belongs to our Dao sect. Since when is it your right to claim the items within here? Fire Crystal Ape King, if you know what is good for you, you should take your minions and return to the mountains. Otherwise, once the experts from our Dao sect hurry over, your years of bitter training would likely end up coming to naught. Yuan Fan laughed coldly. There is nothing I haven't been through all these years. Don't use the Dao sect name to scare me. Just you young fellows alone do not have the qualification to get me to obediently withdraw. Such arrogant words. Fury flashed across Ying Huan Huan's large eyes before she said, "Big fellow, you merely have the strength of a 7-yuan Nirvana stage expert. Therefore, you do not have the qualification to act so arrogantly in front of us." Although demonic beasts typically have powerful fighting strength, this Fire Crystal Ape King was merely at 7-yuan Nirvana stage. However, from his appearance, he clearly possessed a fighting strength that was not inferior to an 8-yuan Nirvana stage expert. Nonetheless, if they were to include Lin Dong, who possessed a fighting strength that far exceeded his appearance, their side would possess for 7-yuan Nirvana stage experts. It was likely that the Fire Crystal Ape King would not gain much advantage if the four of them were to join forces. "Lin Dong, we must obtain that immortal Yuan ancient tree." Ying Huan Huan's eyes looked towards Lin Dong after her words sounded. Her mouth moved slightly and a soft whisper was transmitted into Lin Dong's ears. "Is that thing very rare?" Lin Dong asked instead. He did not know much about this immortal Yuan ancient tree. "Yes. Moreover, it is extremely useful for our sect. This immortal Yuan ancient tree is able to automatically absorb the natural energy and agglomerate them into fruits. Those fruits are extremely beneficial for disciples like us." Lin Dong's glanced at the 5 bright red fruits hanging on the black tree. He could indeed sense a powerful energy from within them. However, isn't this amount a little too insignificant for a super sect? The immortal Yuan ancient tree that we see in front of our eyes is merely a seedling. We do not know if there are any seeds within. If there is a seed, its value would soar by 100 times. Seed? Lin Dong's eyes became slightly focused. There is an immortal Yuan ancient tree in Yuan Gate. However, that ancient tree has already matured through their grooming. Currently, it is rumored to be tens of thousands of feet in size. Each time the ancient tree bears fruits, it will produce thousands of immortal Yuan fruits. The immortal Yuan tree is one of the key reasons why Yuan Gate disciples are far stronger than that of the other sects. Ying Huan Huan bit her lips with the back of her teeth. Her pretty face turned unusually grave at this moment. Lin Dong's heart skipped a beat. A few thousand fruits together? If that was truly the case, it would be a little too frightening. However, in order to groom an immortal Yuan ancient tree till that extent, the amount of hard work and effort required would be terrifying as well. A single person is unlikely to be capable of doing so. If this immortal Yuan ancient tree really has a seed within, it is likely that the upper echelons would be shocked when this news is transmitted back to the sect, Lin Dong muttered to himself. In the next instant, he appeared to have thought of something as his expression suddenly became stern. Since this seed was so valuable, it would likely cause a commotion should news of this spread. Moreover, this Blood Rock Grounds was not a peaceful area. At that time, there would be an unknown number of people targeting this place. In fact, there might even be a few stealthy individuals who might try to secretly steal it. With such a valuable prize in sight, even the deterrence brought by Dao Sect's name will be significantly weakened. Based on them disciples alone, it might be very difficult to intimidate those lawless criminals in Blood Rock Grounds. Lin Dong turned his head and coincidentally saw Ying Huan Huan staring at him. Her large black eyes were filled with a solemn expression. Originally, they thought that this was going to be an ordinary mission. Instead, it turned into such a troublesome one. Lin Dong's lips were curled. After which, his eyelid narrowed. Using a soft voice that only a few of them could hear, he softly said, "In that case, this Ape King, we must not let him escape." Lin Dong's voice was very soft, but the hearts of Ying Huan Huan, Jian Kun, and the rest skipped a beat. From Former's words, they could hear an icy cool bone-piercing killing intent that was contained within it. All of them turned silent. They also knew that if the Fire Crystal Ape King escaped and ended up spreading news regarding this immortal Yuan ancient tree, it would wound up causing them a great deal of trouble. However, they were still unable to form a heartless killing intent instantly. After all, they did not go through what Lin Dong had experienced. Lin Dong is right, we cannot let him escape. Yuan Fang was clearly a lot more mature compared to Ying Huan Huan and the other two. Her eyes immediately flickered before she nodded solemnly. Ying Huan Huan also clenched her silver teeth after hearing Yuan Fang's words. She decisively said, "Jian Kun, Yuan Ling, The both of you will attack and block him at the front. Lin Dong, you will aid them from the side. Elder Sister Fang, arrange for the disciples to lock down this area. Although Ying Huan Huan knew that Lin Dong could match up evenly with Jiang Hao, she did not arrange for him to be at the front line. After all, this Fire Crystal Ape King was much stronger than Jiang Hao. If he was not careful, he might end up being seriously wounded. Lin Dong did not say anything after hearing Ying Huan Huan's arrangement. He merely looked towards Yuan Fang and softly said, Elder Sister Fang, those Fire Crystal Demon Apes that have been put to sleep earlier, do not even let one of them off. Fang Yuan's heart was startled as she looked at Lin Dong's young and calm face. Clearly, she did not expect that Lin Dong's mind was so cautious and ruthless despite this tender age. She involuntarily sighed quietly. It was fortunate that he was a disciple of their Tao sect. Otherwise, it would really cause one to have difficulty sleeping and eating in peace. Junior Lin Dong, it is fine for you to stop the Ape King from the side. Leave the rest to us. Jiang Kuan flickered his sleeve and laughed with great boldness. Attack! A soft cry was suddenly sounded from Ying Huan Huan's mouth. At the next moment, mighty Yuan power suddenly erupted from Jiang Kuan's and Yuan Ling's body. Immediately, their bodies rushed out with a lightning-like speed. A sharp aura quickly covered the Fire Crystal Ape King a short distance away. Just when Jiang Kuan and Yuan Ling attacked, Ying Huan Huan leaped and her lovely body landed on a large tree. Immediately, she waved her hands and an emerald-like green zither appeared. After which, a wave that caused Lin Dong to be surprised slowly spread from the zither. This video will end here.